All right, guys, a little PSA inserting this at the beginning of the Dak Prescott video. I just checked the YouTube stats and it surprised me, but about 40% of the people who are watching this video right now are subscribed. Guys, what are you doing? If you're watching these videos, if you're enjoying them, if you play Dynasty Fantasy Football, make sure you hit that subscribe button. And if you are already, make sure you hit the little bell right next to it. That way you get notified when a new video is out. But thanks, guys. Let's get into it.
That may be the greatest catch I've ever seen in my life.
Alright guys, this video is brought to you actually by a new patron, and first off I want to thank everyone who has decided to sign up for Patreon lately. We have a ton of support for this channel and it really means a lot, but this one is Dak versus the world. Why does Dak get so much hate? Explain to the flock why he is so valuable in fantasy football. And I thought this was interesting because I didn't necessarily think that Dak did get a lot of hate in the fantasy football community, and then I dug a little bit deeper with historical ADPs and with historical finishes and realized that Dak Prescott may be the most undervalued quarterback every single season. But let's get into the video. All right, so a lot is going into this Dak Prescott evaluation in this 2020 season. He does have a lot of things changing around him, including his head coach. Finally, Jason Garrett is on his way out, and we have Mike McCarthy coming in. And I know a lot of people don't necessarily like Mike McCarthy for a decent reason. I mean, he wasn't the best head coach in Green Bay. For a stretch, Aaron Rodgers was most likely the best and most talented quarterback in the NFL, and Mike McCarthy was only able to get one Super Bowl out of him. But at the same time, Mike McCarthy has came into this Dallas Cowboys organization and really has said all the right things. He really signified that Kellen Moore was going to be the guy calling plays in Dallas, and this is exactly what we wanted to see. Because Kellen Moore in the first half of 2019 was really in control of most of the play calls for the Dallas Cowboys offense, and we saw this offense pretty much be the best offense in the league right behind Baltimore for the first half of 2019. Yet then, obviously, Jason Garrett does what Jason Garrett does and kind of itches his way into the offensive play calls for the Dallas Cowboys in the second half of the season. And we just see some more runs on 1st and 10. We see some more runs on 2nd and 10, and nothing necessarily bringing a lot of efficiency to this Dallas Cowboys offense. So if we see Kellen Moore being the main play caller for this offense, that is something that we are going to love for this offense. And really, this is making me want to push all my chips in on this Dallas Cowboys offense in 2020. But beyond that, we're not going to talk too much about the Dallas Cowboys. Let's talk more about Dak Prescott, who right now is obviously going to play under the franchise tag. A report just came out that he turned down a contract that would have made him the highest quarterback ever. But at the same time, guys, I know a lot of people on Twitter going, oh my God, Dak Prescott's not worth that. How would Dak Prescott turn that down? Yada, yada, yada. Reports that we get about contract disputes in the offseason are mainly fake. I mean, the headline is going to be real. Yes, Dak Prescott maybe turned down the highest number that has ever been offered before. But at the same time, we don't know the details. We don't know the guaranteed money. We don't know the incentives. I mean, there's so much that goes into these contracts that maybe it was a contract that would have made Dak Prescott the highest paid quarterback of all time for 1 to 2 seasons, and then he had no guaranteed money after that. I mean, there's no incentive really for Dak Prescott to sign a deal like that. So, I mean, he's going to get the deal that makes sense best for him. And I know I said earlier this offseason that I may not have been interested with him because I didn't know what the Cowboys were going to necessarily be able to do in terms of his weapons. We know Amari Cooper was playing under contract year last year, and he comes in and signs a long-term deal with Dallas. And they actually go out and invest in CeeDee Lamb and franchise tag Dak Prescott. So this tells me that they're going all in on 2020, trying to win now. They're going to sign Dak Prescott to a long-term deal. And really, this is the best situation Dak has faced in his entire career. But nonetheless, let's look at Dak Prescott's career up until this point, because the main talking point of this video is Dak Prescott being undervalued every single season. So what I wanted to do is I wanted to go in and see if this was true, because I didn't necessarily ever hear this before that one comment, and now I think it may be, because we go in, look at his ADP in 2016, his rookie season. Obviously, he takes over the job from Tony Romo in the preseason, and going into the year, he was drafted as the quarterback 19, and he actually finished as the quarterback 6 in points per game. And all these finishes I'm going to be referencing are in points per game and a minimum of 12 games played. And also, the ADP that I'm going to be referencing is from Fantasy Football Calculator. Now, keep in mind, ADP is not good. It's not a good tool to really use if you're going to go into a current draft. The only way that we can really use it is if we're having to look far back where we don't really have any other data points. I mean, don't use ADP for your startup draft coming up. I'll tell you that right now. If you want some real data points, not necessarily just fake drafts, go join the Discord completely free. I have a tab down there that's called Drafts with Buy-ins, and I posted all the Flock startup drafts up until this point. And really, that's going to be information that's going to be able to help you in your dynasty startup. Don't go on Fantasy Football Calculator and use that ADP because it's not going to be 100% accurate. But we have to start somewhere, and that's where we're going to do it. So nonetheless, he was drafted as the quarterback 19 in 2016, and he finished as the quarterback 6. And the amazing thing about this career of Dak Prescott so far is he's been able to play all 16 games every single season, something that we rarely ever see for this duration, but nonetheless played all 16, and his top targets in 2016 in order were Cole Beasley, a washed Dez Bryant, old man Jason Witten, and Terrence Williams, who was mainly known to be a blocking wide receiver. So obviously a very subpar wide receiver group for Dak Prescott. This was a team that really leaned on the run with Ezekiel Elliott his rookie year. But at the same time, I mean, that's not scoring Dak fantasy points leaning on the run with Zeke. And he was able to come out here and finish as the quarterback 6, mainly due to how efficient he was with these subpar weapons and at the same time his own rushing production. But now let's go to 2017, where he was drafted as the quarterback 14, so obviously a big step up from where he was his rookie season, and he actually finished as the quarterback 8. So yet again, beating his ADP, yet again playing all 16 games in an NFL season, and he also did this with pretty much the exact same weapons. His leading targets this season in order were a washed Dez Bryant, old man Jason Witten, a blocking wide receiver in Terrence Williams, and a slot wide receiver in Cole Beasley. So extremely impressive as a sophomore for Dak Prescott. While I know a lot of people want to point to the sophomore season for these guys to have a slump, Dak Prescott was able to come in and continue what he did his rookie year. But now let's go to 2018, where for some reason people were completely off Dak Prescott. I don't necessarily understand why, but he was being drafted as the quarterback 23, and he finished as the quarterback 16. This is clearly the outlier in his entire career. He doesn't have any finishes this low, and I think the reason for this is we saw multiple players leave this offense, and this is most likely what pushed his ADP down so far. Dez Bryant, Terrence Williams, and Jason Witten, 3 out of his 4 target leaders the past 2 seasons, were all out of the offense, so he was going to have to rely on new weapons, such as Ezekiel Elliott to be the team's leading target getter, and this is very surprising because we don't think of Ezekiel Elliott really as a receiving running back. Then Cole Beasley getting the second most targets on this team. Then Amari Cooper, who only played in half the season because this was the year he got traded from Oakland for a first rounder, and he was the 3rd leading receiver on this team. Then Michael Gallup, who was a rookie, actually was 4th in the order of targets for this team. But now let's go to last season, the 2019, where Dak Prescott really exploded and really showed that he was in the elite category of quarterback. He was drafted as the quarterback 17, so about where he finished in 2018. Yet in 2019, he actually finished as the quarterback 4. Yet again, playing all 16 games, and these are finishes in a points per game basis. So if you want to look at totals, really he's going to be higher than this. But I've said before that totals are misleading. If you're listening to a podcast and they're just giving you totals, they're saying, oh, hey, look, Carlos Hyde finished as the RB14, whatever he finished as in Houston. Guys, delete the podcast. I mean, that data is not good. It's not actionable. But anyway, the reason he was able to explode onto the scene like this were the targets that he had. He had Amari Cooper, a full season of Amari Cooper, Michael Gallup in his second year where we see Michael Gallup break out, Randall Cobb, who in my opinion is an upgrade over Cole Beasley, and then Old Man Witten is back on the offense. But that was 2019, and now let's look at 2020 and what we should expect going forward with Dak Prescott. In 2020, Dak Prescott was being drafted around the quarterback 6 in dynasty leagues earlier this offseason, and I was out here, and I'm going to admit first when I was wrong. I'm going to admit that I was wrong before the season even started, and I was saying that, hey, guys, I'm not drafting Dak Prescott at quarterback 6. I mean, he's not even on the franchise tag. He hasn't got signed. Amari Cooper could be out of Dallas. And we see Dak Prescott's splits with and without Amari Cooper, and he's significantly better with Amari on the field. And also, we see other players on this offense being up for contracts. I don't necessarily think that Dak Prescott is worth the risk right now where he's going. Yet, I was wrong. Not only did they bring back Amari Cooper on a long-term deal, but they actually go out there and with their first-round pick, select possibly the best wide receiver in the NFL draft in CeeDee Lamb. So now in 2020, Dak Prescott is being drafted around the quarterback 5 behind Patrick Mahomes, Lamar Jackson, Kyler Murray, and Deshaun Watson. I would say I would actually draft him higher than this. I don't think he should be going around Deshaun Watson. I think he should be going as quarterback 4. Not only should he be going as quarterback 4, but in Superflex leagues, I think that he should actually be going in the middle of the first round where he's going to be available every single time pretty much. In the Flock 9 league coming up, I have the 108, and I expect if Dak Prescott is there, I'm most likely going to be able to select him with my pick because I bet he will be the best value on the board. But this is due to Dak Prescott having Amari Cooper, Michael Gallup going into year 3, CeeDee Lamb, Ezekiel Elliott, Tony Pollard, and Blake Jarwin all on the roster in 2020 as his primary weapons, along with a change in coaching staff, which should allow the team to pass the ball more. And really, I'm all in on Dak Prescott in 2020 and in beyond. Thanks, guys. Really hope you all enjoyed the video. Really hope you all got something from it. As always, if you're not subscribed, make sure you are subscribed. And yeah, have a great day.